Tandem Nomads, episode 195.
So today I'm going to be sharing a bit about how we can heal this year and move into a more positive mindset and be happier for the coming year ahead.
Hello, Nomad Nation. Welcome to Tandem Nomads, the podcast show and entrepreneurship platform where you can find great inspiration and tips to grow a successful portable business and thrive in your global nomadic life. This is your host, Emel Deregi. This episode is going to be on air towards the end of this year, 2020, a time that I love to pause and reflect on what has happened and how we plan to make the best of the coming year. But also in general, how do we want to show up in our businesses? But as well, have fun with it. Make it a happy and joyful experience despite the ups and lows of the journey. And to talk about this journey and share with you some insights, I invite you a great guest. Her name is Talu Sehra-Eckhoff. Talu, are you ready for this ride?
Yes, I am.
Oh, wonderful. I'm so happy to have you here, Talu. I loved following you on Instagram. This is how we got to know each other. You've got so many great insights and inspiration. You always bring a great energy to the table when it's about being happy and joyful in our lives and businesses. So, Nomad Nation, I'm just going to share with you some facts about Talu. So she's a certified Unitive life coach and certified happiness coach by Berkeley Institute of Well-Being, currently based in Hamburg, Germany, having previously lived in many countries across the globe. Talu's journey and experience have constantly confirmed her love to work with people. She has a strong desire to make a difference and connect others to their true happy self and unlock greatness so that they can choose happiness because happy matters. And I love when you say that, Talu, that happy matters.
Thank you. It's so lovely to meet you, Amel, and thank you for inviting me here today. And I'm new to the social scene, but I'm so grateful for all the connections that I've been making over the last year and a half. And it's amazing how like I've said to you before, I feel like we've met before, even though it's only through social scene. So I'm honestly very grateful. So yes, you have introduced me already, but just to give you a bit of a snapshot. So I'm actually born and raised in London, a third culture kid. My parents were born in East Africa. Our origin is Indian. And so our family has always been on the move, so to speak. And I think that was already in my genes and my destiny to travel and live in different places and also find that belonging wherever I am on this beautiful planet. And so I actually studied aviation. So I did my master's in air transport management because that was my passion at the time. I just wanted to explore and travel, get to know our planet. And it was just, I was so intrigued and curious. And I also met my husband during this course that we did. We did our master's together. And he is German and he grew up in Japan as an expat and in the UK and spent some time in Germany as well. So for us, it was really kind of like a blending cultures, but also a balance because he grew up in Asia and me being Asian, Indian, but raised in the UK. It was, we call it a nice blend and a nice balance, that we balance each other out. So anyway, his passions are also to live abroad and experience different cultures and languages. And so we, started this journey together, even though I actually moved to Switzerland on my own for my first job. And he was still in Germany at the time, and then his position came up to send him to Indonesia, and this was obviously then too far for us to have a distance relationship. So I decided to follow, like many other expat wives, to make that choice, and I don't call it a sacrifice, and I never will, because it was my choice, and I do not regret it one bit. So this was a journey to begin a marriage, but also to explore and experience our globe. So we actually started off in Indonesia. We were there for a few years, and then we moved to Germany, where it was the first time for me to live here and learn German. So I took that on, and again, I kind of changed careers along the path or along the journey as you do. Because it was mainly his job that was taking us abroad. So I moved from aviation to consulting to teaching English to real estate, coaching, marketing, actually. So just diverse. Just taking opportunities as they came, and I'm a big believer of that. You know, when some doors close, new doors open, and here we were in Germany, and then the opportunity came for us to move to the US. So we went to Washington, D.C., and just before that, we started to plan for a family. So I just, you know, took the time then to focus on family, even though I was working at the time and had a home office and had my daughter at the time. But I struggled, I'm going to be honest. I really struggled with switching from, you know, being a full-time busy worker to now having to care for a child. So fortunately, you know, we were able to financially take care of us with just one salary. So I decided to just quit and focus on my child. And I'm so glad I did. And you know, give her that time that she needed and the time that I needed to also grow in being this new role, taking this new role. So I took on motherhood and then had another one. And just shortly after our son was born, my husband came home and new news, they want to send us to China. So off we went, packed up and moved to Beijing, where we lived for 7 years. And during that time, I focused on the family and the young children. And once they were settled and feeling, you know, quite comfortable in their surroundings, I thought, okay, what am I going to do next? I started to learn Mandarin and started to work with Santa Fe as an expatriate consultant. So helping new families as they moved to Beijing, because I'd been there for a while. After, you know, consulting or being an expatriate consultant for a relocation company, I realized that I am definitely passionate about working closely with others and helping them. And so over the different positions that I've done over the years, it was clear that it's always been interacting with others and helping them to get clarity or to learn something, whether it's the language or marketing or the city. So in various forms, it was around people. And I had a very good friend of mine at the time that was living in Australia, who's a business coach, and she was staying with me in Beijing, and she basically coached me and was like, why aren't you doing this? You know, and I was like, gosh, yes, that's true. Something to think about. And so I started to look around and see what kind of coaching do I want to, what certification do I want? And came across Unitive coaching, Unitive life coaching, which is based in the UK. And I had this training or coaching done with this doctor of psychology. And it's a real holistic style coaching. So it's very much focused on how to guide an individual to connect to their true self and get them to be in that space so that they can feel good about themselves. And yeah, so that was very much aligned with the way I see coaching. And so I did this online actually via Beijing and the times that I was in the UK. And then completed just before we left Beijing, and we moved to Germany. So the second time round for me, but the first time for our children. So the initial year was again busy, focused on getting the family set up, and then the second year we were looking for a new place to live. So again, busy with all of this. And then it was now, okay, it's time for me now. You know, the kids are, my daughter's 13 and my son is 11, and they need me less, but still, you know, I'm choosing a career which gives me the flexibility to be there when they are home. And because, as I always say to my clients, they are the reason, they are my purpose. They're the reason I get up in the morning. And my clients are they give me that fulfillment to go to sleep and give me that satisfaction. So, it's this balance of, being there for the family, but also for having a fulfilling career that gives me that joy in doing what I do.
That's amazing. Yeah. And having your own thing, having your own
Yes. Yes.
world and a place where you can
Yes.
make an impact beyond the family is also
Yes. That's
powerful.
right.
And you're
Yeah.
doing an amazing job at inspiring us for
Oh.
sure. So I want to discuss this. This year has been a crazy year. And one thing I want to put out there for Nomad Nation, I've heard so many, and it's important to use humor. We'll talk probably about that, to use humor and to reflect on this year that's been tough. But a lot of the narrative right now at this moment is, oh my God, I can't wait for this year to be over, or how 2020 sucks, basically. And I kind of want to acknowledge the hardship that this year, and nobody has, like, it's a unique circumstance where the whole world is going through the same thing, but we're all experiencing it still differently because some of us are more privileged than others, etc. But everybody's feeling that this year is horrible. I do want to acknowledge that, but I do want to say as well, it's important to also sit down and look at, okay, in this hardship, in this challenges, what can we get out of it somehow? What positive things can we learn from it? Can we acknowledge before we move on to the next year? And where everybody's saying, oh, I can't wait for the new year to start just to get rid of this one. I'm like, let's just pause a second together. And this is why I brought Talu to have this conversation, to reflect, okay, what good can come out of this? So my first question to you is, before we move into that, how would you invite people to assess what has happened this year, and where is their meter of happiness? I don't know how you say, the meter of happiness going on this year. So how would you help,
Yeah.
what would you suggest to assess that,
Yeah,
where we are
well, of
now?
course, no one expected this at the beginning of 2020, right? And you could say we're all pretty seasoned now. And, change is the constant thing that we know. We know this isn't going away next week. But, having gone through this year, I think we are at a stage now that we are aware of how we've come through in many ways, right? It's been exceptionally challenging for so many, especially for those who've had to say goodbye to people and their loved ones. And or it could be just losing losing your jobs, or missed opportunities, or even the distance, or the lack of connection. So there's so many areas where we do need to give that pain or hurt the space. We do need to heal. It's so important that we allow, and as you would know as well, in coaching, it's not only about the positive. We also need to embrace the negative. We need to understand it. We need to process it and let it go, so that we can choose the positive and happiness, right? It is part of life. It's not only about the ups, it's also about the downs. And importantly, there are practices and tools that you can do to work through those moments. And one area where I strongly feel that we all need to heal, first of all, this is important, no matter what kind of hurt you've had or you're experiencing still in this moment. And this can be done in various ways. So the easiest, or the way to start, is through forgiveness. And because it doesn't do us any good carrying this pain, this baggage into our now, let alone our future.
Mhm.
right? So if we're able to just let go, when we process that pain, we're no longer bringing it in this moment. So we can then actually turn those frowns into smiles, right? And there are various things you can do. And when I'm coaching, I'm advising clients or sharing on social media that you could do forgiveness letters, and this isn't not about sending it out anywhere. It's just for you to express. It's so important to release those emotions, because they're all right now sitting in our body, and they need to be released. And writing, journaling is a beautiful way of processing, releasing, letting it go, so that we can move on, so that we can heal, so that we can choose happy.
Mm.
And so I would say, if you're already journaling, or if not, it's okay. Just find some time before the end of this year, or whenever you feel you're ready to do this, because again, we're all in this together, yet we all have a different emotion, a different pain, or different struggle that we've gone through during this year. And it could be just not being able to see family,
Yeah.
and or having lost family. So there is no that's more or less. It
Yeah.
is equally painful, and we need to be able to heal,
That's a
as I
great
keep
point.
saying.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
great point that you're bringing about
Mm.
healing before even trying to build in like happiness and joy and do things differently to be able to be happier in our journey, be it because of the current situation or even
Yeah.
general. I love that you say that idea of writing a forgiveness letter. That's a
Mm.
great tip, I find, that I really encourage everybody
Yeah.
to do before the end of the year,
Yeah.
to really acknowledge what was hard. I know in my case, for example, a lot of my clients really struggle because they're determined to build their businesses and grow their
Mm.
businesses. But at the same time, there's this whole homeschooling issue and this
Yeah.
whole sharing a
Oh,
space
yeah.
together, and as well as having to worry about the family around the world.
Mm.
A
Mm.
bunch of things that really suck up a lot of energy.
Absolutely.
Sitting down and forgiving for the things that didn't work, but maybe also,
Right.
I don't know what you think, also acknowledging and embracing and celebrating how we've shown up during these
Yes,
tough times.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, you know, turning it around to reframe it as well. Like, what have we achieved? My gosh, this
Yeah.
is huge, like what worked, and what have I learned? And again, it then does define what matters to us, what are our values. And I think this is the important thing. So once you've given yourself the space to forgive and work through this healing process, I just wanted to go back on that letter. What I love doing, and I know in many faiths, they light candles, and I feel like this is the way I would suggest, to bring in lightness, to take away that darkness that we've had, and end it with lighting a candle, so that we can spread that light amongst us all and bring more, the shift. I think it's so important that we embrace that this has happened, and we're now aware, and we're letting it go, and now we're going to shift it with something new, light, and looking at what have we learned, what have we gained, and always seeing it from a different perspective. So turning it around, the moments where we say, okay, we may not have been able to travel and see our loved ones in different countries, particularly for the tandem nomad nation. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm all mixed
yeah.
up.
Both is good.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
it's I think this is a big struggle amongst clients that I'm speaking to, and also many of my friends and family abroad, where this is the hardest thing. Do we fly? Do we go? And or the fact that we can't. We just can't. We have to stay put and not be with our loved ones. And I think at this moment, we have to remember that we've also been given the opportunity to connect in a different way. We've been
Hmm.
so social, more social, in fact, I think, than normally we would perhaps if we were able to travel, so
Yeah.
the virtual has, Zoom sessions have just kicked off like hotcakes. So I think it's important to recognize how else have we created an opportunity in all of this. What have we done, and celebrate that as you do as well, right? So it's important to look back and see what we've gained as well. Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. So once we sit down and look at the past year, analyze where we are, write that letter. I love the idea of the candle, and then acknowledge all the things we've achieved. What would you then recommend to do to start preparing the next chapter and moving forward?
So there are many tips, and I was making a list of them, of course. And of course, well, I'll go through some of them, but in no formal order. I feel like equally everything is important for me.
Yeah.
So number one, well, not number one. We also need to, before we shift into moving into the new year, it's also important to count our blessings. So when we reframe, let's also start this year with gratitude and count the blessings. I think this is such a beautiful activity to do. And, science backs it up. The research in gratitude is way up there in supporting our well-being, not only for our minds, but our body and spirit, the whole thing. It is so important. And often I also tell clients that don't even focus on, giving thanks for a reason. Can you try to do it without a reason? And to really go beyond and really connect to that core of compassion and love that we all have deep inside of us, and really just get to that place. So let's, before going into the new year, I would say let's look at counting your blessings. And and this is something that we as a family do also in the time of Thanksgiving, so just before the holiday season kicks off. So my kids are born in the US, so there's some traditions that we pick up from living in different places, and Thanksgiving being one of them. And I just love this, not only having to do it at this time of the year, but just in general. I mean, gratitude, whether you, again, going back to journaling, whether you're looking at doing this in the evening, I mean, I highly recommend starting your day also with gratitude. So if you feel, okay, 3 things, it doesn't even have to be a long list of things, let's just keep things simple. Start the day so that you're in that space of appreciating rather than kicking off with annoyance. And this is such as, when we reframe and put it into perspective, you can switch everything around, right? So appreciating rather than being annoyed. And I do the same with my kids. Yeah, I do the same thing with my kids in the morning. So when they, having breakfast, we'll start off with, okay, what 3 things are you grateful for? And usually they'll say, yeah, the food on the table, mom and dad, great weather. And I'll say, no, let's go dig a bit deeper. Come on, let's see what else, And then they'll say, maybe Wi-Fi. Say, no, let's go on, dig a bit deeper. And we get some really lovely things that come out. And
that's nice.
And the lovely thing
that's
is
important.
Yes. Yeah. And what's nice about this is it sets the tone for the day. So they walk out the door in a appreciative mode rather than I'm, feeling frustrated, late, I've got school. The mindset has switched. And you carry this through all day, or we hope. And then again, in the evenings, I like to go around the table and ask, where different things daily, whatever the topic is for me at that day that I'm posting about. And it could be about compliments, about encouragement. What are we grateful for?
And making it a routine, I think, is also what you're saying here. I think is really important. Introducing routines in our lives that help us build resilience and happiness through the challenges. And I think that's through gratitude, but I can see through the dinners and the breakfast is also a routine that is built for that. So that's wonderful. So on top of gratitude, what are the other things that in the few words that you'd like to touch upon?
Yeah. Okay. So for the new year, let's
Yeah.
say we're moving forward, and obviously take this year and look at start off with redefining your values. So really
Mhm.
being clear on what has come through for you on this year. And for me, reflection is not only a time where it comes, at the end of a year. It can be at the end of a day, or it could be at the end of after a session. So it really is something which, once you become more yourself aware and conscious of being more intentionally happy,
Mhm.
reflection is such a great tool for many areas of building more happiness into your lives, right? So redefining your values so that you are clear beginning of the year what matters, so your focus is going in those areas, right?
That's so good.
um, yeah, and I don't really believe in long-term goals. Having lived expat life for 20 years and living in different countries, I couldn't plan. And I still feel that this is also, science also backs that happiness is something which is not necessarily in the future, right? Because we can't predict the future. It's right here, right now. And so when we're able to make that switch and that shift to say, all right, I'm going to create intentions, there's less disappointments, because when you don't meet a goal, you end up suffering for it.
True.
Right? We start feeling guilty and having regrets and so forth. So if we're able to create short-term intentions, being more present, so starting your day, for example, the first hour, how you design your first hour, making sure that you're giving yourself that time for yourself to be fully present. I like to call it a happy morning hour,
Mhm. I like
where
that.
I give myself the hour for me, whether I'm going to do a mantra or I'm going to do a meditation, or I'm going to do some movement. And then I would say, with the mantras, also the affirmations. And I'm actually going to be putting a free PDF resource where people
Wow.
can actually download some affirmations.
That's wonderful. Nomad Nation, if you want to find it, the link is tandemnomads.com/195, and we'll put the link right there. Yeah.
Great.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I love what you're saying here about values and affirmations, and what you said about the goals. The goals have to evolve and we have to adjust them all the time. But you talked about the importance to know our values, because those lead our journey somehow. So
Mm.
anything you would guide us to, like, know what is our vision and our values, to define those.
Well, you know, defining your values is something which you there are various coaching tools to
Hmm.
do this, to help you identify them. But you can do that by just asking yourself simple questions like, obviously, if you're having to work and you've got to spend a certain number of time doing your work, that
Hmm.
is a dedicated time, but you've also got a number of hours in the day where you can focus on things that really matter to you, so that you can find that balance, right? So the way I would see it is, okay, asking yourself, giving you there is a tool which is called Ikigai, which is a
Mm.
Japanese form of a framework, actually, to help you identify your values and what your passions are. It's a beautiful framework that I do normally 2 sessions with clients and help them to identify more on their values, but also what their passions are, so they can choose a path that is fully aligned with what matters to them and what the world needs. I think it's such a beautiful tool.
Yeah.
So that's something individuals can also look into, or work with a coach to find that out for themselves. And it's a lovely discovery, because we tend to pick things, and as you said, our goals and passions evolve, absolutely. And this is when we are aligned with living in the moment, that we are attuned with what we are requiring in that moment and blossoming, so that when we plant that seed, we don't know when it's going to blossom, right? Or when that fruit is going to come from a plant, and we only can focus on that moment. So nourishing that moment in the now, making sure that we're taking care of whether it's that the soil, making sure that we're getting sunlight, all these factors help us to know that in the future we will blossom if we take care of ourselves in the now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hope that answers the
Yeah,
question.
that was really good. And another thing you said that for me was really important, and I just had this aha moment when you said that about, the happy hour morning.
Mm.
Um, and when we do our routines, I know that I've been very much into routines to, like, for example, in the morning, have that hour to really take care of yourself and do something. For me, it's meditation and yoga.
Yeah.
For other people, it's journaling. It's doing it, but also making sure that we do it with intention and see it
Yes.
as a moment of
Yes.
happiness and not just
Yeah.
because it's a routine for the
Yeah,
routine, right?
no, exactly. And this is
Mhm.
the thing, like also say with meditation, you can mix it up. Meditation is not only sitting still
Mhm.
and cross-legged and eyes closed. Yes, that is also a time where, you have to learn to listen to your body, be able to take care of what your body needs at that moment. There are days where I feel like I need to do a meditation walk, and I'll go off out for a lovely long walk, and I'm, filling my soul with connecting with nature,
Mhm.
getting exercise, listening to the birds. It just depends on what I need in that moment. And, it can be that I'm feeling lethargic on days and I just want to sit still and listen to meditative music. And that's okay. And just being okay with doing what your body needs in the moment. So, when I say exactly being intentional with giving yourself the time and space to align, so that when you go out and face the world and your work and your purpose and your passions, that you are coming from a space of wanting to give intention, being fully present and offering the world your contribution with compassion.
I love that. This is
Yeah.
so powerful. I love that. So I think it basically what you're trying to say here in Nomad Nation, I think that's something I want to highlight is that it's important to sit down and reflect on this, first of all, and then build the foundations that help us when things go rocky. We have those foundations put in place to help us deal with it. But how about, okay, let's say we are going through a turbulent time, and sometimes we don't have that space. Sometimes we don't have that bandwidth to implement like structural, habits and
Mm.
rethink. Is there any emergency, like, SOS kind of things you can recommend when we're in the heat of it and struggling? Like, it's been rough for a lot of people, and it
Mm.
came all of a sudden, so it's hard to go back to starting new routines and implementing these right away. So what can
Sure.
we do
Yeah.
for the short
So,
term to transition?
yeah. So, in the month of November, I talked about vitamin L, which
Mm-hmm.
is vitamin love. And, so if we are making sure that, we're getting that boost, and that's you're connecting with your social circle, your community, or a coach, reaching out so that you are being taken care of as well, right? But also, simple things that you can do are smiling. Seriously, it releases all those natural chemicals of boosting happiness naturally. And sometimes people feel that you have to have a reason to smile. Sometimes you could smile and then you get the reason, right? So, it just, it's so interesting when I ask clients, so can you count your smiles today? And they'll say, what? How am I going to do that? And they'll say, well, just take note. Today is the activity is to just count your smiles. And I'll say to them, statistically, adults smile, well, I'll do it the other way around. Children smile up to 400 times a day,
Wow.
and adults, on average, smile up to 20 times a day. Doesn't that say a lot?
That's
So,
that's huge. And it's funny because my husband and I talk a lot about, how we want to stay kids.
yeah,
And
yeah,
we're like, we really are silly at home. And
yeah,
we're like, actually, we should stay silly. We often say, I hope
good.
nobody's watching.
Well, I hope
but
they are. It's contagious.
it's true. But kids are so inspirational. I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
being like, they don't, yeah, they are just in the moment. There's no past and
Yes.
future. It's the
Of
moment.
course,
And that's
that's right. They're in
beautiful.
the moment and they're not carrying grudges or being judgmental. And, these are the things that hold us back from smiling more and having more silly moments or laughing. And, it's all a matter of choice. We've done this a couple of times now where we've had cases in our family where something went wrong and we just looked at each other and burst out laughing, and it was the way to handle it. Of course we could get mad and scream and shout, but we just thought, okay, this is hilarious, let's just laugh at it, and it worked. And then the other thing that we do is we hug and heal. So this came about, we were on the tennis courts and my son was getting a little bit annoyed because I don't know, he didn't get the ball or he didn't hit it right for whatever reason. And he just got so upset. And then the anger grew and you could see him just getting more and more annoyed and, being able to continue playing. So we decided, okay, how can we help him right now? Words are not going to help him. Let's go over as a family and just hug him. And we all went over and we just had a family group bear hug, we all just
Oh.
got him in our arms and he just burst into laughter. He just suddenly was like, guys, stop. First of all he was embarrassed, but in the end he thought it was great because he didn't need to hear any more words at that point. He just wanted to feel good and we're here and it's okay. So
Love it.
things like this, just to find a way where you can easily switch on having happier moments. So through smiles, through laughter, through touch, through hugs, and we're releasing those, again, happy hormones, the oxytocin, serotonin, and the endorphins. So it's just so important to be aware why you're doing it and why it feels good.
Yeah. I love that. It is so powerful. Thank you for sharing that story. I find it sometimes stories say 1,000 words actually,
Yes.
and that's a wonderful way
Yes.
to illustrate what you're trying to say here. And
Mm.
so I would like to talk more about, to end this,
Mm.
more specifically about the entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
What a journey it is. I often
Mm.
say, for me, it is a personal journey. It's more than just about learning how to make money and sell. It's
Yeah.
a journey where we transform with the business, we grow, but it goes with ups and downs and hurdles, be it
Mm.
the with the pandemic circumstances or not. It is a very rewarding journey, but it comes with pushing through the comfort zone, through
Yeah.
a lot of things. So how can we build happiness and joy in what we do in our businesses despite some of those challenges?
Yeah. Yeah, interesting, because I'm in that situation right now myself, right? I'm always trying to step out into the comfort zone because I know that's when I'm growing and that's when I'm going to blossom, because we don't know when that's going to happen, right? And that comes through being comfortable with getting uncomfortable, as I like to call it. So, and that could be, doing more stuff on the videos. For me, this was really hard. I just felt like I'm uncomfortable with it, and even just sharing things about myself personally. But then I realized, in a way, I am also the product, right? As a coach, people need to get to know who I am. So I overcame that fear and started to share more. And now, it's a lot easier, of course. And similarly for others who are in a situation where, the initial step to get into that zone, which is uncomfortable, initially feels hard. But what you can do is always look back at moments where you've actually gone through that and remind yourself that you've done it before, and you can do this again. It's just one tiny step. That's all it needs to take, one step at a time. And it's yeah.
So what
So
are the
yeah,
things you do in your business to have joy and happiness in your business?
in my so importantly, after each client session, I like to clients come at different stages of their path and need to either get clarity or connect with their purpose or just need support And for me, it's about being that mirror so clients can actually, tap in and really connect to their true happy being, and giving back what they need to hear, but what they are telling me in a way. So as a coach, you don't really advise, you don't tell them what to do, other than giving useful activities that can help and give them the clarity. But yeah, so different things. I mean, recently I've been exploring now meditations. So just to say how I was really uncomfortable with taking videos, so I thought, actually, I really enjoy doing meditations because it's got nothing to do with the video anymore. I'm, just sharing how I'm expressing what I feel that clients can need in that moment, and how to bring them to a space where they again can connect to that love and compassionate space, so that they can go out and spread that and have happier moments, right? And live a happier life. So yeah, I guess it would depend on the client, where they're at in life at the moment. But generally right now I'm also working towards working with Happitude, which is an institute in India, and they are combining Western science of happiness with Eastern philosophy. So it's so we're going to launch a new workshop in January, which is called Light Up Inside. And so I'm going to be coaching this workshop. So I'm really excited about that. So stay tuned.
That's really exciting. I love that. Happitude. That's a great word.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll put all the information of Talu in the show notes of this episode, so that you can follow her great insights and any information that will come up that's happening in January. So what is the final word you would like to share with our listeners before we say goodbye today?
Yeah. So, I like to remind clients that we are all whole and complete. We already have the power. And, when we are faced with challenges, it's a matter of tuning in and being able to process what those emotions are, so that you can heal from it and move on, and again choose happiness, because that's what matters, right?
Yeah.
Happy matters. So I would say, when you reflect, don't only reflect at the end of the year. Use this as a tool to help guide you, and listen to what your mind, body, and soul is directing for you. And remember that when you plant that seed, it takes time to blossom. Just be there in that moment.
I love it. This is so good. Thank you so much for your great insights. And could you tell us where's the best places to find you?
Well, yes, where we met on Instagram,
That was
Facebook, yes, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and on my website, which will be all listed, I guess, on the show notes, right?
Yeah, correct. So Nomad Nation, to find all the resources of Talu and her information, go to tandemnomads.com/195. Thank you so much for your great insights. I love having this conversation with you, Talu.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to say, actually, for midweeks, I love to introduce a mix up. So either by dance or music, change up the routine a little bit, be light on things as well. Don't always follow rigid routines, and mix it up a bit. And, you can also create a happiness calendar for yourself. These are some other tips that you can do. You can create a happiness jar. I'm a big fan of using jars, to put different notes in, to give you inspiration, during those moments of not sure what to do and looking for fun ideas.
I love it. These are fantastic ideas. So Nomad Nation, I hope you took all these insights, and we really hope that you will take a moment before the end of this year to reflect and also celebrate all the good things that happened despite maybe the challenges you've been through. Hopefully not too many, but no matter what, I really hope that you will be able to turn these challenges into great opportunities. And I look forward to meeting you in the next episode.